On tonight's show, we're going to give you our thoughts on the Netflix Avatar: The Last Bender series. And if you don't agree,
you're wrong.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Well, yep, we've seen it. We binged it. And now we're going to talk about it. Jace,
It's too late. I've seen everything. I've seen it all.
You've seen everything. Did you binge it all at once? Did you break it up? How'd it go for you?
It took me a couple of days to do it, but, 2 days for 8 episodes with my schedule, that ain't bad.
That ain't bad at all.
That ain't bad at all.
All right, shall we start this off? I'm telling you, before I give you my opinion, I am shocked at the backlash to this series. I will be honest with you. It has been pretty furious online. People's reaction to this series. I think that kind of shocked me in the beginning. What about you? Were you surprised at that? Or you were going, no, that seems some fairness there?
I'm going to say that there is... Now, it being the internet, everything is exaggerated and everything is full of hyperbole. But I can see where they're coming from. Let me put it that way. Now, M. Night Shyamalan's Last Airbender, Netflix Last Airbender. I want to make that perfectly clear. However, the animated Last Airbender. It could have been worse. It could have been better. That's where I stand right now.
I actually was under the misguided perception that we were getting 10 episodes and they would literally be hour-long episodes or 45-minute episodes and do each one. So I was shocked in the beginning to go, no, they're not going in that direction. And they let you know, like in the opening scene, right? Like, okay, we're having a different approach to it. It was jarring. Overall, it was jarring at times. But after watching it twice, because I've watched it twice now, I like it. I understand it's a love letter adaptation of the animated series and not a live action camera to camera remake. Well, shot to shot remake.
They have. I will say I'm appreciative that it is not a shot by shot remake, because that would have taken all of the surprise out of this adaptation. I would almost call this the Last Airbender multiverse at this point, because I like to think that they're all taking place in different time frames or whatever. I don't know, sliders, whatever you want to call it. I'm just gonna say what I said. It could have been better. It could have been worse. They made some choices that I liked. They made some choices that I didn't like. But overall, I think it was mid.
Wow, mid.
I think the entire series was mid. And like I said, could have been better, could have been worse. It's just right in the middle. I will say that my opinion of the show went up as we got through the episodes and we got towards the end, because I almost feel like they wasn't exactly sure what they were doing in the beginning, and then slowly their confidence and quality began to build. But I'm still left rather cooled by this adaptation. Again, choices I liked, choices I didn't like, really played into it.
Well, let's start it off, because one of the big backlashes I heard about was the cast. All right. And
let's talk about the cast.
You just had Aang on the screen there.
Yes.
What did we think of this young man? I can't remember his name.
Gordon Cormier, I believe, is his name.
Yes, correct.
I think he was perfectly fine. He certainly looks like Aang. He was athletic like Aang. My problem with this Aang is that he was not just full of joy as animated Aang. And it's the same. I almost feel like they fell into the same traps that the M. Night Shyamalan Airbender fell into. and that was they sacrificed so much of the comedy and so much of the joy, because when we're live action, apparently we have to take ourselves more seriously. And if only there had been a series that had adapted itself from an animated property that didn't take itself seriously and had the joy. If only that existed, One Piece. But
Yeah,
um
exactly.
I
For some reason, these people thought that as soon as they raised the stakes in live action, you weren't allowed to have fun. Aang wasn't
yeah,
allowed to have fun anymore, and I do think it is a. I think we get more of it in this series than we do get in the film, but
most
it is
definitely.
something that stands out is the lack of kind of humor from him. Although I think the kid that they cast, when he did have his moments,
He
is
was terrific.
absolutely capable of carrying it through.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, all of the problems that I have with Aang in the series are not because of the actor. The actor
no,
was
he did
perfectly cast. It
pretty
was
great.
just
Yeah.
I wish that they would have allowed Aang to be goofball, goofy, not taking himself seriously,
Mm,
instead of being this overburdened, 12-year-old kid. I,
yeah.
I like I like goofy Aang. I like Aang who uses his humor and his unwanted joy as an escape more than anything else. And I really wish we could have seen that in this series.
Mm. Okay, what about Katara? Let's get on to the next one. Katara.
Okay. This is
Okay. How do you like I'll say it off the bat. I thought the actress was wonderful, well cast, actually. But again, I think like Aang, it's really what they do with her where the letdown is.
I fully agree. I think this was the worst adaptation in the series.
Wow. Yeah.
Just the absolute worst. I'm looking for the actresses. Oh, here she is. Uh, oh boy, I am so sorry if I mispronounce this. Quintilio Tarbell. Tarbell.
Right.
I apologize. I'm sorry for my
Yeah.
whiteness. Oh my gosh. Um, no disrespect to the actress, because, as I said, I think that they demonstrated many times in the series that they are talented and they do the best with what they're given. But I don't think that Miss Tarbell was given anything
Yeah.
with this role. Katara in this episode was simply a wet blanket, a blank space, a placeholder, and just it seemed like they took everything from Katara in the animated series that made her special and just ripped them all out at the very beginning and said, "Okay, girl on trip. That's who she is."
What I thought was kind of really disappointing is you had it there. I mean, Katara's arc in that first season of the animated series is so well defined and
She
pretty
is, yeah.
easy to follow. So, we're missing that moment where she goes dark, right? And then we don't see that moment. We just spread that across her entire character across all 8 episodes. So we don't see the what she really brings to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just
But the trio
disappointing. Yeah.
But the trio isn't completely destroyed because I'll stand on this hill. The
I think we
next
know who we're
cast,
gonna talk about. Yeah.
yeah, who
Yep.
is
Ian Owsley.
straight out of the animated series, is pitch perfect, far as I'm concerned.
And I have to give it to Ian Owsley, by the way, the actor
Mm,
who plays Sokka,
yeah.
because they don't give him a lot to work with either. But he brings it, and he has this way of acting with his eyes,
Mm.
and just you almost feel like he's just trying to contain his frustration and rage with every single thing that happens. And
Mm.
I thought he did a magnificent job with Sokka.
He's
I
stealing
honestly think
scenes.
he elevated this part higher than it should have been, because, again, they took a lot of Sokka's humor and sarcasm and stripped it away, but Ian Owsley brought as much of it back as he could. So yeah, this is definitely one of the MVPs of this series.
Very emotive, and it would be
Yes.
little subtle moments of him looking a different way or making a slight face that allow us still to have those tiny moments. But yeah, I'm starting as I'm watching it the second time, Jason, even kind of early on, I'm starting to see why the original creators may have had some issues.
I can see why they left.
Mm.
I
All
can
right.
definitely see.
What about our villains here?
Oh,
Because
my goodness.
wow.
Dallas James Liu as Zuko. Okay, he's got the look,
Yeah.
He's got the intensity. Again, nothing wrong with the actor,
Yeah.
everything wrong with the writing. They never they never gave Zuko his Zuko-ness. He and I know that sounds weird because in the animated series, Zuko was multi-layered. He was a good person who was basically just forced into this position where he had to be a bad person, and it was something that tore him up on the inside. I didn't get that from this Zuko. We got little hints and pieces of it, especially in the episode that flashed back to how he got his scar and everything. But on the most part, Zuko here was played one note, bad guy. I must get the Avatar, and that's really disappointing. Again, though, Dallas James Liu, very intense. I just feel like the show let the character down.
This is where I'm going to disagree with you. I got that from that character. I felt the multi-layeredness from him. I actually thought he was an excellent Zuko and really enjoyed. Yes, like every character in this adaptation, this love letter. I'll call it a love letter to the series.
Fair.
Is not handled the way probably we would have wanted it handled. Alas, what I got from Zuko, I thought he was magnificent. I really liked him. I really felt by the end of the series, I'm like, bring it on the next series with him. I'm really loving it. Now, if we disagree on the next one, we might as well end the show.
You know what this means, though, right?
No.
I'm going to be ready to tap that.
Well, get ready again because...
Okay, who's next?
Iroh.
Who are we talking about? Iroh. Where's he? I got it. Here we go.
Iroh.
Here he is.
Okay.
Mr. Paul Sun-hyun Lee as Iroh. Yes. So, I hate that I have to say this. I hated this casting. I hated it so much. I hated this Iroh. And it's because there was none of the warmth, none of the empathy, none of nothing. I'm going to say it. The M. Night Shyamalan Iroh was better.
No way.
Okay. I know. I think I'm the only person on the internet who has this opinion.
I think really you are, dude.
Because, Iroh was just this warm, loving, fun-loving person, and every time this version of Iroh was on screen, it was, General Zuko, we must go and capture the Avatar. Don't you know how important it is that we capture the Avatar? That's what I felt like. I felt like I was watching a Disney animatronic, a Disney robot, just going through the motions, and just the deep voice, the stilted delivery. I hated this Iroh, and I hate that I have to say that because I love this character so much, and I love this actor too. But something went wrong. Something went horribly, horribly wrong here.
All right. Well,
okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I thought he was wonderful. I thought he was a great adaptation. I really enjoyed him. He didn't feel wooden to me at all. I thought he appropriately emoted when he needed to. Again, like I said, like other characters, he wasn't serviced script-wise maybe the way we would have liked it. But really, I thought one of the strongest relationships in this adaptation was Zuko and was Iroh. And I liked their chemistry. I liked the way he handled the character. So get ready to push that button, mate, because I don't think so, but there we go. Okay.
One of us is wrong, but I have a feeling everybody at home knows who it is. Who is it? Tell us in the comments who's wrong.
I think it's the internet on my side.
Was Iroh just a horrible adaptation of the character that we know and love, or are we putting up with that? I don't know which way to. Are we putting up with
look, at the end of the day, there's a lot wrong with this series. I doubt he was really,
and Iroh was one.
He wasn't the big standout to me. All right, now how about the big bad? How about our big bad of the series?
Oh my goodness, Daniel Day.
Okay, how do we feel about him?
10 out of 10 casting on this. Let me tell you something. It is hard to follow in the steps of Mark Hamill doing the voice of a silhouette on a flaming background. But Daniel Day Kim, who incidentally, as I told you the other day,
Mhm.
at 55 years old looks like an absolute unit while I'm sitting at
Yeah.
home, brushing Cheeto dust out of my
Yeah.
chins. Just he looks the part, he acted the part, he was a
Mm.
threat, but more than that, this is one of the few times I felt like the writing actually did the characters favors. There is multi levels to this character now. Before in the cartoon, he was just like, I must take over the world. Here, he's got layers like an onion. And I really dug it because you actually get the feeling that instead of just being somebody who threw Zuko out like he was garbage, he actually cares about his son.
Mm.
And that brings him so much more depth. So yeah,
Mm.
10 out of 10. I honestly think that us that Daniel Day Kim and Ian Owsley are the MVPs of this series. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, Daniel Day Kim, because we got to see elements of him actually being a father,
Yes.
which was kind of new, and I feel like we got more of him in this season. See, like it, we'll get to it soon, but there are elements they've taken, I assume, from season 2 and
Yes,
inserted
they
into
did.
season 1. You know, one being the obvious, being the daughter,
Yes.
who really finishes on a cliffhanger, and that's all I've seen of the animated series. But they bring her in pretty early on.
And that's one of the changes that I actually liked
Mm.
because in the animated series, Azula shows up and she's just poof, I
Mm.
exist.
Yeah,
Here she's being set up and we're seeing her motivations and we're
yeah.
seeing her jealousy and we're seeing lots of things that make Azula who Azula is. And I actually think it's kind of neat that you're seeing this before you see the second season of the animated series because nothing is really spoiled.
Oh, great. And that
Nothing,
was a
yeah.
concern as I was watching it, was I was going to be spoiled, but I'm
Yep.
glad to hear that. I
Which
really
I
like
know.
this actress. I really, all I can be based upon is what I've seen in live action, but I really like this character as well. I think the strength of the series, and I'm going to say, is the Fire Nation for me. For
Mhm.
me, I get a lot out of the whole Fire Nation side of the storytelling,
Yes,
more so
and
than I do in the Good Guys.
also, I know you have not seen any of the second season of this series,
Hmm.
so I'm just going to give you a quick, my opinion on
Hmm.
this young actor, Elizabeth Yu. I've been seeing a lot of people picking on her because they're like, she's too young to be Azula. She's too young to be Azula. Yeah, Azula was voiced by like a 35-year-old woman on the TV show. She's not going to sound like a 35-year-old woman. And yes, she's young, but there's a reason why why these actors are so young. They're going to age.
Hmm.
So there's a few choices in this series, which we will get to here in a little bit, that I think
Hmm.
they made to accommodate the actors aging, and I think that they were quite brilliant acting wise. But she's going to grow into it. She's got Azula's part. I hope they give her a little bit more of Azula's humor because Azula to me was a very funny character on the show.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
I really hope that they kind of listen to the internet griping and whining and say, okay, let's bring more comedy into the show next season. And if that happens, I think that this young lady is going to give us a heck of an Azula.
Mm, mm. I reckon we move on to the massive problems we have with this overall series.
Okay,
All right, let's
let's
just
do
get into the big things that bug us the most about it. Start her off, Jace. Give me your big one.
Okay, well, my biggest one, aside from the lack of humor and the lack of fun, is I think the first time that I actually kind of groaned audibly was what they did to poor Boomy.
Hmm.
Because I think, and spoilers by the way, I think one of the charming things about Boomy in the animated series was that Aang had to basically figure out who he was,
Mm.
and Boomy was just basically trying to help him during the entire episode. Here, Boomy is actually a crazy, bitter old man. Aang knows who he is right away, and it just strips Boomy of all of his fun. Now, don't get
Mm.
me wrong, we do have a really, really great fight uh,
Really
between
great fight. Yeah.
between Aang and Boomy, which showed us, what a cool bending battle could be. But I really think that they ended up losing so much of
Yeah.
what made Boomy a special character. Because quite honestly, I don't think the people running the show really understand what makes these characters so great. And again, I'm not expecting a carbon copy of the animated series. I think that if you're expecting that, you're being kind of foolish and unrealistic, but at least know why the characters worked. They took
Mm.
they took what made Boomy work and they stripped it from him. And I just
Look,
wanted to say, "My Boomy!"
hey man, Cabbage Man got some love in this.
Absolutely. You know what? I love the way they built it up. It was like they
Yeah,
knew we wanted to hear it and they made us
yeah.
wait for it. And I respect that level of pettiness.
And
I
you
respect
know,
it.
I don't know whose decision it was to make it 8 episode. I'm sure it was a budgetary reason, but um, that has been to me the glaring issue out of this. They were so in a rush to try to get to the beats of the story that they sacrificed characters because of it. And after the second time, that is so glaringly in your face. Um, and yeah, that's the biggest beef I have with your beef as well. Just the lack of humor.
Whopping beef.
Yeah, and it's a joyous experience to watch the animated series with
It
all
is.
the tragedy and the drama and everything, and it's there, and it's there, and it's emotional. The humor is what keeps you just locked into the show, and it's maybe it was a confidence thing, maybe it's a timing thing, I don't know, but it's a real. And that was probably the glaring thing I noticed was the lack of characters really being serviced because at the same time, I really appreciate Jason. They do hit those big moments throughout the
Yes.
first season because there is a lot of good in this as well. But we'll
There
get to
is.
that in a little
And
bit.
I did want to say, just kind of building off of what you said,
Mm,
the episode before uh the King of Omashu, I can't remember what the name of the episode was in this one, but it
yeah,
was called Omashu here.
yeah.
I actually thought that they brilliantly wove together 3 episodes into one. And that
Mm,
was Jet, which
yeah,
incidentally, great casting
yeah.
of Jet here.
Mm,
But they wove together Jet and they wove together the Northern Air Temple
yeah.
episode.
Danny
And
Pudi.
yeah, and of course, elements of the Omashu episode with Boomy, not the entire episode, but some of it. I thought that that was actually done really, really well. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I get what they're doing here. They're just compressing. And for some reason, Jet and the Inventor and Boomy and Umashu, it all worked. So I got
Can
to
you
give them
imagine
props for that.
how good that episode would have been if they didn't give it away?
Yeah,
That was the part of the build up is he finds out like he does in the episode
yeah,
on the animated series.
yeah.
Like it is a baffling choice, isn't it?
It is.
Like
I just
why do
don't
you
get it.
give away a great little twist in an episode? It's one of the cool things because I remember going, "Oh wow," when I first watched the animated episode.
There were a
Um,
couple of other things in this series that I liked and I didn't like. And it's been discussed already online, but our boy Sokka, which
yeah,
incidentally the Kyoshi Warriors look amazing in this show.
yes, they
But our
do.
boy Sokka lost his sexism.
Yeah.
He did not have a problem with women fighting. He didn't he and in the cartoon, of course, it's like, no, women should be only in the kitchen and everything like that. And it was part of his journey was learning to
Mm,
respect women throughout the world. He lost it here, and as a result, his character arc also suffered. A
yeah.
good thing, however, was that in the animated series, Aang only really had Avatar Roku to help him along, but in the live action series, he's meeting all of the avatars before him, and they're
Yes, that
all
just
giving him
changes.
advice. And I thought that
Very
that was
cool.
really cool. I was not a huge fan with what they did to Roku because to me they made him like Santa Claus.
Kinda. He seems a bit like it's a
Yeah,
bit
he
much,
it was
isn't
a
it?
bit much, and I thought
It
that he
needs to be
was,
spindly.
he Roku was such a wise, sage, serious
Mm,
avatar, and he contrasted with Aang so much. And here it's just like, let's make Avatar Roku just like Aang.
yeah.
No, let's not do
No.
that.
Okay, let's just put it out there. The action in this series, like the scenes, mwah. I think
Absolutely.
major strength of this is all the action scenes are photographed everywhere. The power of the elements, Jason, one of our big complaints on the film, they fixed it. And they fixed it well.
Yes.
Because every element, whether it's fire, water, or air, you feel like it's a threat. You feel like when it's hitting somebody, it's doing damage. And those earthbenders, very cool. Very cool.
Yes. I enjoyed all the bending, to be honest. I thought that there would be some. I think the water bending to me was the one that did not look the best, but it still looked pretty good.
I think that fight at the end, up at the northern temple, air temple,
the northern water tribe,
the third act, the northern water tribe, I thought when they had the fight there, that looked great.
Really it looked incredible.
Water's a hard thing, isn't it, to make it look threatening?
It's a very hard thing to pull off.
The fire and the earth. I mean, even in that opening sequence when that guy is like the preamble, with the guy kind of running away, he knows there's a war coming. Even that little sequence with the fire and the earth, straight away I felt confident that they had this down. And, mate, it was really great. Yes. Did you like that opening sequence? Because that was a bit jarring in the beginning.
I wasn't sure where they were. Yeah, I wasn't sure where they were going with it. But I kind of liked that we saw a little bit more of what happened before Aang was frozen. And to me, it did set the series apart from everything else. And it was great. I loved it. I thought it really showed how ruthless they were.
Yeah, not epilogue, prologue.
Prologue. We forgot it. We forgot a very important character, by the way, Momo.
Oh, Momo's great.
Momo looks so cute. Look at
animals. Yeah. Momo and Appa are really good in this.
All I can say is somebody's got a cat.
Yes.
Somebody's got a cat. Somebody's got a dog. Those two could not have been more perfect. Yeah.
But it's, you look at the effects in this, and the effects are all done really well. They're effects, but it just seems how they've color corrected it, how they've made it look. It all looks very appropriate. And it's of scale. And I felt like this film, rather than the film feeling was always so contained and small, this felt large.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
And it is colorful. That's something that I appreciated so much about it, is just the explosions of color in this series from every angle, everything it came from. It actually, to me, elevated the last part of the Northern Water Tribe, the siege. I can't remember what they called it. The Battle of the North. I don't know. The Battle of the Bastards.
Legends. That episode was the North, and then Legends. I think it was the North.
That whenever everything went black and white, I was like, wow, that's actually a pretty stark contrast to all of the wonderful color that we've been seeing in this series so far.
That was wonderfully done. The third act, that whole sequence in the North is definitely a highlight of the series to me. And Jace, I got to say it, right? Yeah, except for that moment. I'll get to that moment in a sec. Except for that moment. They did it, dude. Kaiju Aang.
Oh my gosh.
And I got to be honest, I was like, yes, they did it. They had the balls to do it, and they did it.
And he looked good. He looked darn good.
And he was threatening, and it was so cool.
Now, I liked how they linked it into the koi, into the ocean spirit. And it wasn't just Aang becoming a kaiju because he wanted to. It was Aang linking to the ocean spirit and letting the ocean spirit just have his wrath upon the people that killed his mate. And that, I thought that was really great. I hate to say it because I've been dogging the writing so much. It was good writing. It was a good change.
It was a good change. Let's talk about the girl from Prey. You just had her up on screen. If you don't realize this is the lead actress from the Predator sequel called Prey.
It is not. Oh my gosh, it is. They just put a bad wig on her
and bad makeup, because she's beautiful without makeup.
She is, but I mean, seriously, why has the quality of Hollywood wigs gone down so dramatically over the last?
Well, the hair looks like she's got grey hair.
Okay,
and you can see the brunette roots in her hair.
Okay,
that bothers me.
The hair in M. Night Shyamalan's Last Airbender looked better than this, and we know what that hair looked like.
I'll say this, Jace. I think the chemistry of him, that moment of the type of chemistry I had, was better than what we got in here because I felt no chemistry
No
between the
chemistry at
two
all.
at
No.
all. And so that was probably the only mire in that was that because that was quite beautifully handled in the animated series, and here they
Yes.
just doesn't work, you know.
Hey, the
And
script
you know,
says that we're
early in the
boyfriend and girlfriend now.
yeah, and
Oh
early in the
boy.
series, Soka's hooking up with someone. Like, I didn't like the implication that he was a bit of a Romeo because I like him being completely a loser in that respect and
Hmm.
him learning how to talk to women and treat them with respect, and it builds up to that, which we just
Yeah.
don't get.
Because the what is her name? Suki is
Mm.
just totally all over him in her
Oh,
appearance. And I liked how she wasn't in the animated series. She was just kind of like, this guy's a loser. Let's humble him. Oh wait, he's humbling himself. Okay, now I feel bad. Let's teach him for real now.
yes.
We have trained them wrong as a joke.
Mm. I
Name that
was
movie.
hoping
Comment.
to see the village that floods. Remember, it floods at one. They flood a village because they break that dam.
Yes.
We don't get that moment
We
at
don't
all,
get that. No.
and that was one of the most tragic, emotional moments in that series. And seemed one thing they did miss out on was capturing that. So,
Yeah, that was
and
the Jet episode, wasn't it?
that was the Jet
Yes.
episode.
Yes.
Um, yeah.
Jet
So
sucks.
and
This
Jet.
Jet was great. Jet sucks though.
Yeah, I kind of wish we had a bit more Jet. I could have done with more Jet. Because he is a great character, more of that kind. But at least they do touch on the side characters in that little community, and
Yeah.
they do their most. They do the best at what they have at the time, I think. And I think this is inherently the biggest problem with this series is for a few $1 million more, they could have done the whole thing properly.
Yeah.
You know, and really,
We could
at
have
the
skipped the
second
Great Divide.
time when you had the creators walk away, there should have been more discussion around why that's the case. You know, and I would sell my, I don't know, my old computer to at least find out what was the problem they had with this iteration, because I bet it's all about character.
I bet it is too. I
It's
bet
all like
it's the lack of humor, it's the
mm,
lack of respect for the source material.
with
And
the
I
characters.
also like to think that they probably got busy with Avatar Studios because we are getting a new animated Avatar movie later this year. It's going to
Are we
be
really?
oh yes, it's the
I had
gang
no
in their
idea.
oh yes, it's the gang in their 20s. So we're
Get
getting
out.
oh yeah. Oh
Oh
yeah.
my.
I
So
can't I can't
I
remember
have to
what
at
it's
least
gonna be
finish
called.
this series by the end of the year then. I can't go into this
I
movie.
suppose so, yes.
Yeah, I've got to now. So, wow. That's crazy. I had no idea about that. But I'm going to say, with all the criticisms of that, I am thankful that this show exists. I appreciate what they tried to do. They went for a home run and they only got to second base. It's just the reality of it. But there's enough in this series, as far as I'm concerned, to absolutely warrant book 2 or series 2, whatever they're going to call it. And I think, yeah, and I think the only advice I would give him is maybe stick to the source material a lot more. Even when it comes down to naming some of the episodes or the opening. Gotta love Grandma when she does the opening.
That was cringy.
No, you
It
didn't like it. I liked it because I
it
thought, oh, we're
was
not going to
cringy.
get it at all. And then when she did it, I'm like, oh, that's a nice moment. I'm glad
I
she
just
did it
I
word
just
for
she just
word.
she just starts staring at a tapestry going, 100 years ago, the five nations. And then everybody's just like staring at her like, is grandma having a stroke? What's going on? Who's she talking to? Incidentally, I don't know if this is an official image or not, but
Mm-hmm. No way.
yeah, I don't know if that's an official image, but there you go.
Wowee. That's crazy. That's crazy. Nickelodeon behind it?
I believe so, and it's the original creators are behind it, and yeah,
Right.
it's going to be the gang in their 20s, from what I understand. I
Oh.
don't know if they've officially named it or not, but we will see.
Yeah, wow, that is crazy. That is nuts. That is nuts.
Apparently, though, it's going to be a 2D 3D hybrid.
Okay.
So we'll see how that comes out because
Yeah. Well, hey,
that
look,
does not feel
Blue-Eyed Samurai.
yeah, that does not inspire joy. But yeah, Blue Eyed Samurai looked really nice. I just don't know. I don't know if I can accept Avatar that same way. We'll see.
It has to look visually. I mean, if you're gonna do your environment, you can't change it too much. You just
Yeah.
can't, you know. And you know what? Back to this series, they visually really tried to stay faithful, and I do appreciate that too. I don't think they made any massive visual changes from my mind. In fact, I would say some of the establishing shots are straight out of and some of the actions are straight out of the animated
Oh
series.
yeah, and the costumes are
Perfect.
perfect.
Bit too clean for my liking because
That's okay.
they never get it dirty, you
That's
know. But
okay. Yeah, we're out hunting, but look at us. Our costumes look magnificent.
they're white collars all the time, you
I've
know.
been asleep 100 years, but look how great my clothes look. I'm
Uh,
a vengeful spirit, but look how amazing my makeup is.
yeah, your costumes always look good and
My
clean,
costume!
except for Cabbage Man. Poor Cabbage Man. No, look, overall, again, I stand by. I'm glad the show exists. You know, I watched it twice, and I look forward. Giving away a bit of a spoiler here that we plan on. We're not finished with this conversation, are we, Jason?
Absolutely not. No, no. We are going to be taking it over to our amazing, our astounding last Avatar podcast called, respectfully, Breaking Wind. And if you have not watched Breaking Wind yet, if that show has not burst into your face, Breaking Wind, uh, check it out on this channel. It is I really enjoy doing it, and we've been
Mm.
going through we've been going through the animated series. We just finished the first season of The Last Airbender. We just suffered through M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender, and now we're going to start looking at our individual episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender from Netflix. So please come and
Absolutely.
join us.
Absolutely, and just to note too, I've never seen the show before the podcast, so
Nope.
and that's the fun of it. I actually haven't seen anything past season one because I've only been watching the episodes as we've been doing podcasts. So
So I
in
imagine
that, it's
I just put up that picture of all them grown, and you're like, oh, cool. Who the hell
I
is
only
that?
really just noticed you didn't have it up
Who the
long,
hell
and I
is
think you
that?
didn't put it up long because of
Oh,
me.
and I've already deleted it, so you can't go back.
Yeah, I really just noticed how
You know
tall
that if
Aang
you try to
was.
get
He
ahead,
grew.
that you will be punished.
Yeah. Well, you would catch me out because I would be doing the podcast and I'd say something that happens in a future episode and not that one. So
I
no,
would
I'll
say
stay
something like,
faithful.
"The boulder feels," and you would say, "Conflicted." I knew it. I knew it. But now you're just like, what the hell is he talking
I
about?
don't know what the hell you're talking about. But no, I feel like my perspective is probably from also the general audience who may have come into the series the first time without the animated series. And I'd be curious to hear what people are saying because if you have no background experience with this, does this work on a level that you're happy with? I think it services the non-Avatar fans probably better than it does the Avatar fans.
Quite likely. Quite likely. But as I said, as a series, just not even thinking about the animated series,
Mm,
I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 6,
mm,
just because I just don't think they did a wonderful job with
mm.
writing. The writing was very clunky. It was very cringe at times. And it just seems like this was a show that wanted to be for an older audience, but at the same time wanted to be for kids. And you just can't have it both ways.
I will say, if that's the decision you have to make it, you always go with kids, right? Always.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Always, because it'll translate, you know.
Yep.
But there you go, guys. We've given you our initial thoughts on the Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender live action series. So we're there. Like I said, we ain't finished with this. We've got a lot to talk about coming up over in Breaking Wind. And that's it, Jace. We've
Guy
done it.
Bison.
Now, mate, what do people need to do? How can they get more of you, Jace, and that wonderful looking kitty? What should they be doing right now?
You should subscribe, turn on your notifications, give us a thumbs up and a cheerful comment below. You are on the Jason Roy Gaston YouTube channel. You can also find me on TikTok, Instagram, and I don't know, other places that I don't
Well,
have quite.
Patreon would be one of them. Become a Patreon.
Yes. Yes, become a Patreon. You get exclusive videos. You get all kinds of fun, stupid things. And of course, you also get to have priority requests to our other show here on the Jason Roy Gaston YouTube channel, the wonderful, the fantabulous, the nostalgic VHS Vault, which is also a lot of fun to do and more fun to watch. So be sure to tune in for that because we got some great
Well, I
shows
think
coming up.
we couldn't have said it any better, guys. We'll catch you next time. All right.
Earth,
We're done.
fire, wind, water, heart,
Yeah.
go planet! Captain Planet.
Kaiju Aang was dope.
It was really cool, but you know what? I think Captain Planet could have done that too. Let's go.